Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Last week, the Broward County Officials Association issued an apology to Cocoa High School. Why, you may ask? Because these officials essentially snatched the victory from Cocoa and basically handed it over to St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Thomas Aquinas, a power in Broward County, hosted Cocoa in a game where you have two premier programs trying to get some work in against a quality opponent early in the season. As you know, when you have quality opponents, it's hard for them to get games against reputable teams and quality teams, and because basically nobody really wants to play them. So here's the backdrop. Cocoa made a stop with less than 2 minutes left in the game. St. Thomas had no more timeouts, so all Cocoa had to do was snap the ball and run the clock out. Well, the officials, noting the celebration that took place in the stands after Cocoa got the big stop, evidently must have decided that, well, we're going to let these guys get out of here without earning it twice. Well, instead of the clock running freely as it should have, these officials found a reason to stop the clock. One of those stoppages came on a defensive penalty. So after the penalty was assessed, the clock was supposed to have started. That didn't happen. So what ended up happening was Cocoa had to punt on 4th down. They punted the ball to Aquinas. Aquinas drove the ball down inside the 10, then kicked the field goal with no time left. That was a terrible blow, a hard swallow to take. And if you think teams don't get cheated, they've been cheating like that for a long time. And when you go on the road, you can never know what to expect. Take, for instance, the team I used to coach with. I coached with a team in the North Florida area, and we were playing a team out of the Tampa general area, and we were up by 2 scores. It was late in the third quarter. They were driving. They were about to score. Well, we got an interception in the end zone, and our guy ran it all the way back for a touchdown. We look back, there's a flag on the play. Next thing I know, there was a big discussion between the officials, and after the discussion, they picked the flag up, but they brought the touchdown back and said that you can't run the ball out of the end zone after an interception. So as compensation, they put the ball on the 30-yard line. Wrong all the way around. But what it did, it changed the momentum. And that team ended up pushing us into overtime and then knocked us off. Whereas we should have had a 3-score lead going into the 4th quarter, and that would have been the end of all of that. There's several other instances where I've seen teams get cheated. So you have to pay attention to the parameters of what's taking place, because regardless of what people may say, you can't tell me that the local officials would rather see their local team win as opposed to some outsider, especially when they're arrogantly celebrating in the stands. One other example, the same school I'm talking about, but we're talking about 50 years earlier. This is the only school in the world that has lost a playoff game 1-0. The guy that used to be an assistant coach with me on basketball, he just happened to be a star on that team. And on 4th down, he busted through and scored a touchdown, being tackled 3 yards deep. Well, the official promptly took the ball, marched it out to the 2-yard line, and pointed it in the other direction. You on the road. Anything can happen. And in that case, it did happen. So instead of winning that game 6-0, they end up going to overtime, lost on penetration, and there you have it, a 1-0 playoff score. Never before ever happened, and it's never going to happen again. But the officials from that area probably had relatives on the team that was playing, and they end up taking that game, and that team, they ain't had much luck since then. That's been over 50 years. So at least the association came out and gave an apology to Cocoa. It should have never came to that. And if I was Cocoa, I wouldn't want to accept that, because I think that's pure garbage. But you just got to realize that a lot of these officials associations, they generally determine who's going to win and who's going to lose. Sports for real.